Hey everyone, I hope everyone's getting a little bit closer to sanity, I guess. But we're gonna get there, okay? So make sure that just keep going, okay? And if you need some support, find people that can support you. Hey, I'm here. If you ever need me on social media, go ahead. Hey man, I'm at least doing my best to try and be the best ear I can possibly be for anyone that may need it. So with that said, you know what? Speaking of being helpful, well, that's what this video is about. Because first and foremost, with everything going on, this lockdown, everything that's going on in terms of not being able to go out, not having as much mobility, if you will, one of the things that you end up losing are options. And maybe I can help out as far as options. Maybe I'm a little bit late for some, maybe I'm just in time. I don't know, but I hope that this can help you out a little bit. There's some books that I was looking around for just the other day, and I was like, hey, you know what? Why not give those suggestions? I don't know if some of you know these books. I don't know if some of you are familiar with them. You might not be, but hey, it's worth a try. The first book I want to recommend was this one, My Turn by Johan Cruyff. It's his autobiography, and a great book that he was able to read, or actually he was able to write, of course, just shortly before passing a couple of years ago. And talked about his experiences. He talked about everything that went through. One in particular that was quite interesting was when he talked about it, he returned to Dutch football. He knew he still had it, but he's playing with very young kids. And one thing he didn't like was the way that the club was being run at that point. He didn't like the way Ajax was being run. Of course, this is a Johan Cruyff that's already in his 30s. He had been in the United States. He went back and played with Levante for a very brief time. Goes back to Dutch football. Doesn't like the way that things are being managed because he became more used to how things were being done here in the United States. Again, it helps you in terms of the argument that not everything is bad, not everything is good, but there's things you can learn from others that can help you progress as an entity. So I hope that it does give you a better understanding of what Johan Cruyff was talking about, the concepts he talks about, the instances, the moments, the controversies. Of course, he was full of them during his playing career, of course, during his coaching career as well. There was another book that I have, and again, like I said, I had to break it down because I had so many, and if I have 30 books, it'll take me about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that would be a very boring video. Creer, el desafío de superarse siempre. That's believe, the challenge of always improving, by Diego Simeone. And of course, he has another book. I have it as well, but that tends to have a lot more autobiographical, if you will. But in this book, he talks about believing and always wanting people to understand an idea, communicate an idea. How do you communicate the idea? He talks about the action and the distraction. Where the action is going, where things are going. Of course, what's going on the other side? What type of movements? That's where the key is in order to develop a play. He talks about that quite often, but he also talks about man management. He talks about leadership. He talks about a lot of things. He talks about a lot of his failures as a coach and a lot of the shortcomings that he had in certain instances where he's like, you know what? If I were to do it again, I would do my relationship with so-and-so this way. I would do certain things differently. And he gives you that feeling of, well, either you win or you learn. So it gives you a very positive outlook on certain things. And by the end of the book, you're pretty much with that knifing, between your teeth, ready to go to battle. Just what he's able to do and infect his teams and what he's been able to do as a coach, especially at Atletico Madrid. There's a couple of others that I wanted to talk about, and I'll give you that one. Inverting the Pyramid by Jonathan Wilson. Very famous book. And most of you have probably either read it or heard about it, at least heard about it. To me, that's one of the books that really helps you in terms of getting a wider perspective, a better perspective in terms of tactical nous. It gives you an idea of what, why, how a certain concept developed, evolved, and what was going on before that created this. So you end up getting a good historical path, but also a conceptual path in terms of how certain tactical acumen were able to be developed. That's what I can explain to you about Jonathan Wilson and Inverting the Pyramid. I think I have like 2 or 3 other books by Jonathan Wilson. They're all brilliant, but this is the one that I wanted to be able to share in another episode, or I guess another video. I'll start using other books. And if you have any suggestions, go ahead, man. I'll be more than happy. Make sure, again, like I said, subscribe, click the bell icon and comment, man. Just comment. So you can also say, hey, oh yeah, man, you forgot that book. That's what I definitely want to hear from you. A mí el Pelotón. There's that's a bit on left field, if you will, for many. It's a book by Patxo Unzueta. He's a Basque writer, big athletic club fan. He was just always talking about it, and he was a big proponent of being able to talk about the history of Basque football, especially with the club, with the history of the club and everything it went to, the plight that it had gone through in many years. There he talks about it, and he brings it to a very grassroots, a very personal, a very local level, where you hear history of certain fans, of certain neighbors, of certain people that he lived through and experienced. The fandom of athletic club during his childhood years, and of course as he got older. And also a great forward by Santiago Segurola, to me one of the best, I guess you could say, in Spanish football in terms of journalism is concerned. To me, I enjoy and I really love listening and reading Santiago Segurola every time he's able to do something. His forward is also brilliant. So I've done those 3, those 4. Oh, the final one is Killin Kings by Wilson Raj Perumal. If you're into, I don't know, conspiracy theories, no, I guess that's the wrong one. If you're into seeing how match fixing and all these things, I guess the underworld of football, well, that's a perfect book to read. I think Wilson Raj Perumal, of course, he happened to be one of those individuals that was doing match fixing. So why not get it from the horse's mouth, because he was involved in a lot of those scandals and a lot of those things. And to read all of these things and how they were operated, how they came to fruition, just leaves you aghast. But again, it's a great book, very informative, and to me, one of the best books that I have in my collection. Of course, like I said, I'll do future videos on other types of books, and maybe hey, look this book, I highly recommend it. There's some that I would recommend. There's a book by Vicente Muglia called Che Pep, which is the Argentinization of Pep Guardiola and the influence of Argentine football on Pep Guardiola during the early stage of his career, even today. But that's for another time. I just want to mention it because Vicente is a good friend, great guy, and of course he does some tremendous work over at Diario Le over in Argentina. I have one more book. I'll give you a bonus. Actually, maybe Vicente was also a bonus, but I'll give you another bonus. That book, of course, is Red Card. And actually, let me give you, because sometimes it's kind of lengthy, but Red Card, How the U.S. Blew the Whistle on the World's Biggest Sports Scandal. That's, of course, by Ken Bensinger. Ken, phenomenal. If you're watching, I already told you it's great. I don't need to say it again, but it is. I mean, one of the best books in terms of how FIFAgate went down, what occurred for FIFAgate to go down, and everything that happened afterwards, the court proceedings, the arrests, the people that are no longer with us, everything that occurred in their respective histories and what they did wrong and what could have been done better, everything that went down with that particular episode or that particular chapter, dark chapter in world football, all of that in that book, tremendous. And Ken just always brilliant in his coverage, whether it's in the book or on social media, tremendous. And of course, what he's been able to do on BuzzFeed. By the way, my heart goes out to everyone from BuzzFeed. Wish you the best. I hope that everything goes well in your future endeavors. Just nothing but the best for all of you. So again, those were my picks for this week. If you have, again, like any other additional books you want to add, go ahead and do it. I'd be more than glad to be able to add more. Again, there's gonna be more content. We're gonna be doing the La Liga reports. We're gonna be doing the South American reports. We're going to be doing interviews every so often, as well as actually interviews at least once a month. We'll be doing also certain little features that I want to start working and playing around with, and to be able to show you on stadiums, on fans, on things of that nature. A bit more of a magazine style article or feature that I'd like to be able to do going into the future. A lot of things that I want to do, but of course I want to be able to work the kinks out in the near future. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, make sure that you're also clicking on the bell icon so you're always aware of what videos come up. I'll have them scheduled. There's some that something pops in my head, I'll go do it, no problem. But for the most part, make sure you do that. Make sure you share. Make sure you tell your friends. And of course, make sure you support, man. Thank you so much. Again, thank you and wish you all the best. Take care.